Good evening and welcome to a special FA Cup edition of Across the Pitch. We're the soccer show for people who think La Cassette is what French people listened to before CDs came out.
That's a good one. That took me a while. Tell you what, that was like a forearm to the face, that joke, Phil.
We won't be seeing Lacazette, who of course is the Arsenal striker. He won't be in the second leg against Bati Borisov in the Europa League coming up next week. But we'll talk about that a little bit more later, because tonight we have something extra special for you.
Yes, we do. But first, you're Phil Kennedy, I'm Arran, and in this very special FA Cup episode of Across the Pitch, we talk to Padraig Amond, a guy from Newport County who will tell us what it's like playing on a rugby pitch and how that might affect their chances against none other than the juggernaut that is Manchester City. It is a tale of David versus Goliath.
Without a doubt, you have to go for David in this matchup, and in this case, David is the Newport County Exiles, who come from Newport County, which is, as we mentioned in a previous episode, a Welsh team. They're just about 30 minutes north of Cardiff City, if you look at the map. As Aaron mentioned, they play at Rodney Parade Stadium, which is actually a rugby ground.
And it looks like it.
They're a League Two team. Right now they're about mid-table in League Two, but they have made an amazing run through the FA Cup, knocking off Leicester City in the third round, Middlesbrough in the fourth round, and as Aaron mentioned, coming up, this episode was recorded on Thursday at 10:30 Arizona time, 12:30 Eastern. Tomorrow, or today, depending on when you're listening, we will have Newport County taking on defending champions Manchester City in the fifth round of the FA Cup. And tonight we have the hero of, well, just about every round so far joining us, the one and only Padraig Amond.
How do we pronounce your name properly? I'm sorry, mate.
You're okay. It's always the first question I get. So it's pronounced Padraig, but everyone in football, everyone in football calls me Podge. It's just a lot easier. It saves a lot of hassle.
Fair enough, Podge. It's great to have you on the show. Welcome to Across the Pitch. Absolute pleasure to have you on the show, because you are setting the world on fire, and certainly in terms of the FA Cup. You guys are like world beaters right now. First of all, you're about to play a club which is practically unheard of right here in the States, and I'm not sure how you say that either. Okay, is it Man City?
Yeah.
Is this your time to shine? Do you feel overwhelmed? Are you looking at it as being like, hey lads, we're going to show you a thing or two on our pitch? What do you think about this? How's this game matching up for you?
It's exciting. Look, the build up to it has been obviously really, really good. The world's media has been, over in Newport all week, and it's stuff that we're probably not used to. But look, it's exciting. We're not going to go out and say, look, we're waiting for Man City to come here to kick lumps out of them and beat them, because that's just a silly comment to make. Basically, you can have a lot of egg on your face when the game finishes, But what we're going to do is we're going to give everything we can give. We're going to try put in a performance we can be proud of, and you never know. Sometimes miracles do happen, so we need a lot of things to go our way on the day. But at the same time, you still have a chance. We put in a really good performance against Spurs last year, nearly shocked them.
Yeah, you did. I saw that goal.
Great goal in that game.
Yeah,
we're both Arsenal fans, so we're all about scoring against the Spurs.
yeah. I can imagine. I can imagine you enjoyed that one. So, but look, it's that game gives confidence to the lads. Because look, Spurs, you see what they've done to Borussia Dortmund last night, and on that side, they haven't made any signings since they played us. So. Very similar team that started against us in the drawing game. So if we can put in a performance like we done last January against Spurs, you never know what could happen.
That's remarkable because they beat Borussia Dortmund. It looked a little bit unconvincing in the first half last night. We're recording now on a Thursday morning, but they ended up winning 3-0 against Borussia Dortmund, who is probably number 2. I think they're probably even number 1 in the Bundesliga right now. How does that make you feel going in against Man City? Like when you're lining up in the tunnel there at Newport. How does that make you feel? Do they see you as equals? Do you see them as like being the plucky underdogs that are going to take them down a peg, or do you just see it as like another match?
For me, I'm looking at it as another game. It's no different than a League Two game to me. You get overwhelmed by it and get caught up in the whole throw about it all. You can it'll pass you by, and the game is over before you even notice it, and you're already beaten. How they're going to view it, I don't know. They'll be in an environment that won't be what they're used to. But at the same time, a couple of weeks ago they played Burton Albion away from home, so they've played in a tight ground.
True.
Dressing rooms that are probably not as big as what they probably have, but the one thing that they won't have here is the pitch is a little bit bumpier than what Burton Albion's was because of all the rugby games that have been played so far.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. It's a little bit unusual. You play rugby pretty well, I have to say, there in Wales, and the Irish do okay too, I suppose.
Yeah.
From an Australian perspective, let's be honest. This is a big money team coming into a small town, shall we say? So what's the word over here, Phil? Is it minnows?
I think that what it is over here in the States, what we have is with the March Madness basketball tournament, we'll have some of the smaller schools will go against the bigger schools. And I think the FA Cup is really England's version of that. I think that translates into a lot of excitement when we see a team like yours. And when you guys really first caught my eye was against in the Leicester game, and you guys were up 1-0 for a good bit of time, and then they came back and then they tied it with you, and then you guys fought back, and then of course you had that penalty kick to win it.
Yes,
that really showed me that you guys have that fight, and that's what got me following you through the FA Cup.
Yeah, look, that game gives confidence to the lads again, and some experience as well. It's not the first big game some of the lads have played in. And sometimes if it is the first big game you've played in, it can pass you by. But when you've experience of playing in a big game, but also importantly, experience of winning in a big game, that can play a big factor in it. And funny enough, when we were doing our analysis on Leicester before in the build up to the game. I think 2 games previously or 3 games previously, they'd beaten Man City. So I'm not saying that doesn't directly translate, but if we beat a side who've beat another side, it proves that there is a chance that still something can happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that you guys definitely against Leicester City. That's a team that won England 2 years ago. They're not that far removed from winning the whole thing. Certainly, even Middlesbrough, who you played, they're a team that's looking to possibly get promoted to the Premier League. So you guys have been playing a level of competition the past 2 rounds that's not that far off from where you're going to be playing on Saturday.
Yeah, look, the difference, I suppose, is now the world's kind of media attention is on it because it's Man City.
Right.
You can I'm not saying you can get away from that a little bit with Middlesbrough and with Leicester. Of course, it was big. There were big games. Leicester won the Premier League a couple of years ago. And both games are live on TV. But at the same time, the level of interest, because it's Manchester City, because it is the biggest team, probably the best team in England at the minute and one of the best teams in Europe against one of the smaller teams. So yes. It adds to the romance of the competition. It adds to the beauty.
God, you're talking my language. I love the FA Cup for this, mate. You're absolutely spot on. But here you are duking it out with the reigning Premier League champions. Like, at the very least, you've got yourself 250,000 quid. How far does that go in a club like Newport?
Oh, you can add a lot more to that. What the club have made in for everything else with the game, and the FA Cup run this season has secured a financial future for the football club for quite a while, and that's the most important thing of all this. Look, it's brilliant
That's
for
the best part of the story.
It's brilliant for the players to get to play in these games. It's brilliant for us to showcase ourselves and possibly beat big sides. But again, look, the most important thing is that the club is financially stable for quite a while. 30 years ago, the club went out of business. So look how far the club has come in 30 years. And for this run to stabilise the club and just so they know, everything is going to be fine for the foreseeable future. It can be a platform for the club to, take everything to the next level as well, because now they're not worried about what's behind us. It's now we look where we can get, look what we can do.
The other thing that I was looking at is right now you guys are about 9 points back of sixth in the standings, and you're playing these bigger clubs and getting this experience. And I was wondering if you thought the momentum from the FA Cup and the experience playing these bigger clubs might be able to pay off, and maybe you could make up those 9 points, get up to six, maybe try to make a playoff run in the league this year.
Yeah, that's what you'd be hoping for. You'd be hoping that it's a platform for you to step up to the next level. The flip side of that is because we've been doing so well, and a lot of games have been on TV. The teams can do a lot better analysis on us.
Right.
And they can, the output of energy that we've put into all these games, and we play Saturday, Tuesday for quite a while. That could build up, but at the same time, you're just hoping that for us, we can keep putting in good performances, and if we do, and we can transform that into the league. Someone always makes a late burst into the playoffs, into the promotion places. So hopefully, it is us this season. Yeah.
We do talk about a lot on our podcast about how the big teams suffer from having to play in 4 or 5 competitions. Having a smaller squad like that playing in 3 competitions, I guess, across the year, that's gonna take a draw on it. I actually underestimated that. So apologies to my lower league clubs and their fans, but it's fascinating that will actually take a toll upon a club like that. Yeah.
Yeah, like even the league, we've 8 games more in the league than Premier League teams. We play 46 games and they play 38. So we have that, and then there's lower league competitions as well for just the football league. So that's another, depending on how you go. And I think we played 4 or 5 games in that this season as well. So they all add up. And look, it's not an excuse or anything like that, but obviously we wouldn't have the squads as big as everyone else either. But sometimes teams peak at the right time. Sometimes teams, have a really good start to the season, and because their starting 11 is really good, and then after that they might be struggling to get a couple of injuries. So they can start the season really well, but then drop back through the league standings. The season gets further on. Hopefully, we're in a situation where we will peak quite soon, and then be able to keep that level of performance going till the end of the season. And if that's the case, then we will be thereabouts for the playoff spots.
You scored 11 goals this season for Newport. You feel like you're in a run of form? You're going to keep this going?
Oh yeah, I feel really good. I feel like I can score in every game I play, and I feel confident when I step onto the pitch. So it's just a case of, like, as I said to you, if you can get that momentum going where you're creating chances, you're always getting opportunities, and then you take your opportunities. And if that's the case, obviously, me scoring more goals and the team scoring more goals will ultimately lead to us being more successful.
You do some coaching. I saw some other interviews you did, and you mentioned that some work you had been doing with the under-16 team played a part in something that you had been coaching was something that you actually used in that goal that you scored in the Middlesbrough game. I just wondered, what are your coaching aspirations after your playing career is done? Are you planning to get into coaching? Is that something you want to do with your future?
Yeah, definitely. I want to stay involved in football. I'd love to get involved in coaching as well. This season I've been coaching under 16s, at Newport, and it's been really enjoyable. It's great to see the other side of it, the preparation that goes into it all, and it probably gives you a little bit more, I suppose, gratitude for what everyone has done for all the coaches that I've had. It's not just the case that you just turn up and put a session on and that's it. Everything has to be planned, and you have to follow a certain criteria. Everything has to be planned, and it's not just you arrive at the pitch, throw down a few cones, put up a session, and that's it, you're gone. It's completely different, and that it gives you a different outlook on it. So
I feel like I've been involved in a few of those training sessions, which explains why I'm not a professional football player.
Yeah.
You do some writing too for your paperback in Ireland, right?
Yeah, I've been doing that for about 7-8 years now, and it's just again, that was just another something enjoyable to do, and again, that was with kind of one eye on the future. You never know what way you're going to. As I said, I'd love to stay involved in football in some way, shape, or form, and whether it's on the media side or whether it was on the the football coaching side. It is the best sport in the world. It's the best job in the world I have, playing football. I think the next best thing then is to probably coach it or to be involved in reporting on it or being in the media side or talking about football every day.
That's why we're here, is because we love the game, and we're here talking to you, and it's such an honor to have you on the show. And I've read some of your articles that you had. I also understand that you were into hurling a bit at one time.
Yeah, look, every Irish person grows up, you play, Gaelic football and hurling.
Can I just say, you guys are freaking nuts. You're freaking nuts. I've seen that game. You guys, do you have any teeth at the end of it? How hard do you have to be over there, you guys?
Look, the amount of people that say that to you is crazy. But then, look, I've never ever got injured playing hurling. I played from about 7 or 8 years old to 18 and never got injured. Now, I know a lot of my friends have got injured playing it and stuff like that, but it's not as... It looks from the outside, it looks like it's a crazy sport, but it's not as, crazy and vicious as you think.
I imagine there's a level of respect on the field where, everybody is in an understanding that it is a dangerous sport, and you keep a level of respect. You don't have guys out there doing stupid things.
Yeah, look, you have guys doing stupid things in every sport. I think the thing is once the final whistle goes, friends, let's go have a drink together, that kind of thing, and that's the way sport should be. They should be on the pitch. It should be physical. It should be tough. It should be really, really hard. But the minute that final whistle goes, that's it. You should be able to turn around, relax, and be able to enjoy the fact that you've just played a very, very hard game.
Here. I'm still in awe that you play that game because I still think you're nuts. But anyway.
Now, there's one thing that we definitely need to ask you about. Back from 2011 to 2013, you played for Accrington Stanley, and they're actually a favorite of ours. Tell us a little bit about what it was like playing for Accrington Stanley.
Yeah, it was brilliant. Look, it's a community club, kind of family-orientated, community-orientated club, and they mightn't have the finances of other clubs have, but what they do have is they have a passionate support and people who are involved in the club that really care about the club. And sometimes when you have people like that involved, I think it makes it a little bit more special than people just being at a club. And sometimes you go through your career, be at clubs, and it passes you by because you just expect everything to be there for you. The appreciation of, how hard people work to have a football club there and how hard people work to make sure that you can have everything you can. It really, really, it is something special, and it was a fantastic football club to play for.
Scott Brown's been a regular guest. He's a midfielder. You probably know Scott, I'm assuming.
I played with Scott at Grimsby, yeah.
Right, that's where I was going with this, yeah. So Grimsby. So I know now 3 people from Grimsby, or at least lived in Grimsby, and that's more than anyone that I know from Norwich, for example.
You scored 37 goals for Grimsby back in 2016. That had to be a fun year for you.
That was
that was good. That was very enjoyable, I have to say. honestly, every time I stepped onto the pitch, I fully expected to score. Like I'd be disappointed and shocked when I came off the pitch and I hadn't scored. And it was a really good season for us, but ultimately it was made better by the fact that we got promoted, and that was the most important thing of it. It's great personally to be able to score all those goals and whatnot, but the bigger picture was that you want to be successful. So to play a part in those goals being a big part of us being successful was probably more pleasing for me.
What's more exciting to you, a promotion because that's a season-long achievement, or something like a big win like you got against Leicester? What's more exciting to you? When did you have the bigger party, I guess?
Probably at Grimsby, the promotion is a wider. It's a as you say, it's a season-long thing. It's something that you work hard for all season. Both of them have their merits, but at the same time, look, the Leicester game could become massive in the future, because I'm not going to sit here and say we're going to win the FA Cup, because that's just a silly thing to go out and say. But if we
we're going to be rooting for you.
If we cause the biggest shock in history on Saturday against Man City, you, every now and again your mind gets carried away and you think, oh look, there's a chance. But beating the best side in Europe, or in Europe probably at the minute, so
probably, yeah.
You just never know where it's gonna end up, or where it's gonna take you. You're only a couple of games away from the final then, and it is you can get carried away every now and again. It's great to dream, because sometimes, as you say, when you dream, sometimes it comes true. And there's always brilliant underdog stories throughout the course of sport, and you never know what can happen. That's the beauty of sport.
God, you're putting the hairs up on my back. I've got goosebumps here, mate.
It's already a brilliant story. I've had so much fun watching you guys, and we won't take up too much more of your time. We just had two more questions for you, and the first thing we wanted to ask is, have you ever thought about coming over to the United States to try play the MLS?
This question to everyone that comes on the show, by the way.
Yeah. No, I'd love to. It's a tour, or a competition that's growing, in stature, and all, the players that are going over to play over there, they are. Whereas years ago, maybe people were going over there towards the end of their career. Now people are going over there kind of in the middle of their career, or and they're doing really, really well over there. And that's it is a fantastic competition, and it would be something that I suppose everyone would nearly aspire to now. Football is a big, soccer for you guys is a
we like association football is what we call it. That's on the show.
It's a big debate on our Facebook page, so we can't get away from it.
We had one last listener question from Steve Sawyer in Texas. He wanted us to ask you, during your youth football era, was there something or someone in particular that fueled your desire to advance to the professional level?
Probably not that fueled my desire. No, my parents were really, really brilliant with me when, growing up, with regards bringing me to coaching sessions or training sessions, bringing me to football games. Every sport I wanted to play, they were always very supportive of that. And the two of them would have been the biggest influences on my career. And only for them, I don't know what I would have done. But they never pushed me into doing anything. It was always whatever I wanted to do. They didn't force me to go training, didn't force me to go to a game. I always wanted to do that. And I wanted to be a professional footballer. I wanted to play at whatever the highest level possible it was. And I was determined to do that. Thankfully I've been able to do that. I've been playing professionally for 13 years now, and I've no interest in finishing anytime soon. I want to keep going for as long as possible.
Fantastic, mate. That's fantastic.
We really appreciate you taking the time and coming on the show, and we really we're looking forward to the game on Saturday, and we're going to keep following you guys all season long, and hopefully we can check in with you again later in the season, and maybe maybe you'll be making a playoff run. Yeah, no problem. That's perfect. Thank you very much for having me on. Thanks for giving me the time.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. It's been an honor having you on, and good luck on Saturday. We will be over here watching.
We'll be live tweeting the match.
Oh, brilliant. Thanks very much, lad.
All right, man. Have a great night or a great day.
Have a great one.
Go to bed.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Oh, what a top bloke. What a top bloke. And that was the fabulous, I have to say, wonderful Pudge. I'm just going to call him Pudge Amond of Newport County. Just an absolute pleasure to have him on the show. Couldn't be more honoured. And hey, we wish you all the best in taking down Manchester City tomorrow. Next week, we're returning to our regular schedule, so you can hear myself, Arran, Phil Kennedy, and Matt Robards talk more bollocks. Until then, Phil.
Until then, with my brother from down under, Aaron Ayres, my name is Phil Kennedy. Matt Robards, as Aaron mentioned, was not able to join us tonight, but will be back with us as scheduled next week. Thank you all for listening.